Okay, so today I want to show a clip from a professor named Scott Galloway and what he says about Canada. I really wish the people on the right and the Trump supporters would actually hear this. But pigs will fly first before that ever happens. Scott lays out the real truth about what Canada has done for the United States. And it just reinforces everything that many of us have been saying for months. It reaffirms my stance towards our neighbors and why so many Canadians feel the same way we do right now. I also came across an image showing rock bottom flight prices from Europe to the United States. It shows how desperate the airlines are to fill those seats. On top of that, the chaos around the Epstein files, MAGA splitting into factions, it's all getting messy pretty fast. So I'll give my take on that as well, and what Canada needs to remember as all of this unfolds. Today's backdrop comes from Kevin, who took this awesome photo from Lake Louise in Alberta. I swear I will never get sick of this view, no matter what season it is. So thank you, Kevin, for sending this over. Alright, let's get into the clip from Scott Galloway.
Tariffs were supposed to inspire a flurry of deal-making, and they are. Unfortunately, the deal-making is outside of the U.S. People are reconfiguring their supply chains to avoid the U.S., who they feel they can't count on. They don't understand the tariff policy. It seems to be based on the blood sugar level of a president and his chief economist, who, quite frankly, is citing people who don't exist in economic papers. And we have seen throughout economic history, tariffs are an elegant way to reduce prosperity. As it relates to Canada, 70% of their exports come to the U.S. It's like that Animal House line. You effed up. You trusted us. They have based a big portion of their economy on good relationships with the U.S. It's the largest undefended border in the world. And yet we have decided to declare economic warfare on them. And
He's spot on with what he said. We built a massive part of our economy around the United States because we trusted that friendship. We share cultures with them, we share products, and a lot of our day-to-day life lines up with theirs as well. And on the trade side, looking back now, we assumed that the partnership would always be in good faith. But 2025 has made that painfully clear. That's no longer the case. This is exactly why I feel strongly about Canada finding new trade partners, because I personally do not trust the current US administration, not even a little. And sure, one day the United States may eventually have a different president, maybe a Democrat. Maybe things will feel normal again to the US citizens. At least that's what they tell themselves. But I won't forget. I don't forget the 77 million people who cheered on the tariffs, who cheered on the 51st state threats, and also who cheered on the disrespect towards Canadians. In my opinion, 2025 was a fundamental turning point on how I see the United States. And I don't think that feeling is ever going to go away from me. It'll probably stick with me for the rest of my life. If you feel the same way, let me know in the comments below. And if you agree and you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow, and it helps get this message out to more Canadians who need to hear it.
it's not only, there's nothing, the only thing worse than fighting with your allies is fighting without them. They've been amazing allies for us. And to think that we're just, quite frankly, messing with them this much is just not very smart. In addition, if you just look at free trade, I agree with Kevin, we should have free trade with Canada. We Americans asymmetrically benefit. They import into the U.S. low margin products, lumber, petroleum, oil, operating margins of 10 to 20%, companies that trade at a PE multiple of 20. We import into Canada high margin products, iPhones, cars, electronics that have 30 to 40 points of operating margin with companies that trade at multiples of a PE multiple of 30. In other words, for every dollar we make from products we ship into Canada, we get about $3 in shareholder value. They get about $1. So if there's any asymmetry in free trade that accretes to one partner, it asymmetrically benefits the U.S. So not only is this waving our middle finger and an amazing ally, it's just economically stupid what we have done.
Sounds like they're taking advantage of us, doesn't it? Yet Trump and his minions love to say that we're just take. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of tired of giving the US discounts just because we're neighbors. If it were a perfect world, I'd stop all trade with the US and give Trump the middle finger. But before you guys pile up on that statement, I know that's not realistic. What is realistic is being more cautious and actually considering partners that we may never looked at before. It's time for Canada to start looking at nations that won't treat us like shit. Now listen to this next comment from Scott on how great of an ally we actually are.
So in addition, if you want to talk about a great ally, I love the question posed to his friend, Warren Buffett, a Holocaust survivor. He said, how do you know if someone's your friend? And she responded, She asked herself, would they hide me? I mean, that's a really puncturing question. And here's the bottom line as it relates to America and Canadians being our friend, they hit us. 1979 Iranian hostage crisis, Canadian diplomats held Americans, hid them, and then got them out of the country safely and then stayed behind at huge personal risk to them. It's just striking to me that we would be this damaging and this hostile towards a nation that has been such an incredible friend of the United States. So I would argue that the Trump administration tariff policies are not only inconsistent and unpredictable, they're just baseline stupid.
It's still hard to believe that generations of friendship, loyalty, and integration can be destroyed in just a few months. I say a few months because I was done with the US back in April when I first started this channel. That was my turning point. Going back to his point about Iran, I wasn't born yet, but I did hear about this from the movie Argo. Great movie, but a little bit too Hollywood for me. So after that, I decided I wanted to know the real story, so I did my own research on the Canadian caper. Canada didn't have to do what they did for the United States, but we did. And we took a massive risk, not just for them, but for our own people. And it makes me wonder, if the situation was reversed today, would the US do the same for us? I highly doubt it. In fact, I could honestly see Trump and his administration charging Canada a fee to get our citizens out, and probably slapping a tariff on it on the evacuation cost as well. And that's not the only example. Operation Yellow Ribbon, Gander and airports all across Canada opened their doors without hesitation and sheltered thousands of stranded US citizens after their airspace was shut down. We all remember that day. It was tragic, but Canadians stepped up instantly. Would Trump do the same? Probably not. Everyone on those planes would be treated like a criminal, and ICE would be running around like a kid in the candy store. I've come to realize that even with a tragedy like 9/11, when Operation Yellow Ribbon happened, purely out of the goodness of Canadians' hearts, there will still be haters. When I made my Operation Yellow Ribbon video months ago, even with all the selfless acts that the Canadians did, somehow that video got lots of hate comments and even dislikes. Now anyone could look at something like Operation Yellow Ribbon and still choose to be angry and hateful. But it's Trump's USA right now, and hate seems to be acceptable all over the place. So Scott, thank you for standing up for Canada and saying what you did. And I'm also really glad that clip didn't include a single word from Kevin O'Leary. I honestly do not want to hear his voice. Now moving on to the next topic. I came across a Reddit post from someone who spotted a European airline promoting flights to Miami for €310. That's pretty damn cheap if you ask me. And to me, it screams that the airlines are desperate to fill the seats going to the United States. And I wanted to walk through a few Reddit comments with you because it really shows something important. Communities outside of the GTL community are seeing the exact same things we are, and we're all aligned. All right, so this is actually from a subreddit called Boycott United States. And some of the comments here are, they're pretty similar to what I was on my channel. You can see here, someone mentioned, wouldn't even go if I got paid for it. Another one here says, there's no incentive to fly straight to hell, which I found kind of funny. 380, 400 round trip, that smell, fear, is delicious. I'm showing these to you because it shows that many of us are aligned, and not just within my community and people watching my videos, but there's a genuine fear of actually going to the United States. And this person here says, seems very expensive for somewhere I don't want to go. It's the general consensus that most people do not want to go. It says here, I'm sure many countries are offering deals to the US because very few people want to go. And I think this is a South Park gif of, what's her name? Kristi Noem. It's pretty funny. But like I said, the reason why I want to show this to you guys is because what you're seeing here aligns with my channel as well as all the other Canadian channels and even US channels that are stating that the US is in turmoil right now. So there's no incentive for anybody to go. So if you're watching from Europe, let us know if you're getting these promo deals from your airlines. And if you are, I'd love to see them. Send them over. And for the record, I finally figured out how to use the screen recording feature in my editing software. That little clip you just saw was my first attempt. Turns out it was actually way easier than I expected, so I'll probably start using it a bit more. And that actually requires me to talk freely instead of reading from my script. Now moving on. This is just my opinion and observation, but it really feels like Trump and his MAGA followers are at a crossroads right now. A new set of Epstein emails are public, and Trump is probably losing his mind in the Oval Office. the Oval Office. If you're not sure where that joke comes from, go check out the Keith Edwards show or even Midas Touch. It's all over the internet right now. But it also looks like MAGA is starting to tear at the seams. And you know things are really messed up when you find yourself agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene on certain things. I still don't trust her though. I think she's just doing it for herself. But we're even starting to see MAGA supporters turn on Donald Trump. Some of them are finally starting to think for themselves. And you'll see videos of people literally torching their own red hats. Now, this does not mean I have any sympathy for them, because I don't, not even a little. They are part of the problem. What it does mean for me, at least, is that I feel like Trump and his administration are so deep in the hole right now that something has to give. I don't know what that something is going to be, but it's just too much chaos, too many scandals, too many cracks, for all of this just to be swept under the rug. Now, some people might say, why do you even care, GTL? You're not even from the US. Well, because whatever happens down there can spill over to our side of the fence. It might hit us politically, or it might hit us economically, I don't know. Or maybe, hopefully, Trump finally gets what he deserves and there's a leadership change. But I don't think this guy will be any different. But no matter what happens in the next few months, or even the rest of Trump's term, we still have to stay aware of what's going on with our neighbors. We have to be on guard, because we need to protect our side of the border. Things are heating up south of us, and pretending it doesn't affect Canada would be a bit naive. Now I wanted to show this clip, because it proves that US citizens who don't support Trump are hitting their boiling point.
David Brooks captured this Border Patrol arrest in Evanston, Illinois on Halloween.
Get back, I'm gonna shoot you. You're gonna what? You're gonna shoot me?
It's gotten to the point now where ICE casually pointing guns at their own citizen is treated like normal now. This is not normal. All it's going to take is one mishandled gun, one trigger pulled at the wrong moment, and an innocent bystander is going to get shot. But let's keep this going, and look what everyday citizens are doing when ICE shows up to their neighborhood.
Border Patrol had just been involved in a crash with this red car. The Department of Homeland Security said the car had been aggressively following the Border Patrol vehicle and called those who rushed to the scene agitated. Residents dispute that.
It just looked like an army of people acting without rules.
Evanston, Illinois, it's a leafy suburb of Chicago along Lake Michigan. And it's fair to call this a liberal enclave for the middle and upper class. The Brooks family is one of many families that networks and tracks ICE on their phones. And one of the things they keep telling us is that they're concerned because their kids go to school in this neighborhood and how all this is affecting them.
Nobody wants anything to do with these guys except to make sure that the community is safe. My son, anytime one of his friends is not at school, he comes home and he says, I'm so afraid they took him away.
From ICE caravans through the streets to spot checks of landscapers, it's perceived intimidation these families say they're fighting. When they spot immigration officers like here outside a Home Depot, they blow whistles to warn others.
We've all decided collectively that this is not okay for our community, and we are going to make it really difficult.
Well done to these people for stepping up and making things difficult for ICE. This is not normal, and anyone who thinks this is or cheers this on is part of the problem. We need to see more of this in every city across the United States, at least in my opinion. I still wish for a better and peaceful outcome for our neighbors from the South. But like I said earlier, with everything going on, and way too much to be swept under the rug, it feels inevitable that something big's going to happen. And we have to make sure that none of it spills into Canada. We need to guard the leaf. Okay, that sounds a bit cheesy when I say it out loud, but you know what I mean. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to get this message out to more people, and share it with your friends. And if you're still here and you want to see more of my other videos, check out the other ones that are popping up on your screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.